Hello, my name is Ryan Miller. I am the founder of ParentDome.com, which is an educational platform which has been focusing on internet safety and privacy. We talk about awareness, oversight, and controls from the dangerous risks and threats of a digitally immersed life. And we thrive on gaining research and creating content to help all people, parents, caregivers, employers, employees, clients, clinicians, to help them navigate this new digital world. And the digital experience is not just limited to teens, tweens, adolescents. It is including mature adults. It is used casually and it is used professionally. And when we talk about this topic at ParentDome.com, we try to bring data as the foundation to support our recommendations and advice on how to have good digital citizenship and good digital stewardship. And part of that effort today is we are introducing some curriculum specific to what we're calling the brain change, how the brain has changed based upon generational, societal, cultural differences. And so we're calling this brain change generational observations. First of all, if you're interested in learning more about ParentDome.com, you can view any of our other social media presence, our YouTube channel, Facebook page, our website. This curriculum is included inside of those locations as well. So we're going to go through this lengthy presentation, which is a culmination of research from multiple resources. So we're going to start in the beginning with one resource, and then we're going to quickly jump into some more resource information. And please bear with us. There's a lot of content to go through, and I'm creating this in a PDF, in this video slide presentation, and as an audio file. So whichever way is easiest for you to consume the content we have, we encourage you to do so. So let's move along with the presentation. So as I mentioned, it's based upon research which has been conducted by Pew Research and some other third-party research organizations, and those credentials will be provided at the end of this presentation. We will be presenting the actual findings of over 4 different generations: the traditionalists, the baby boomers, the Generation X, and millennials. But first, what is the definition of a generation? A generation is a group of people born around the same time and raised around the same place. People in this birth cohort exhibit similar characteristics, preferences, and values over their lifetimes. At the Center for Generational Kinetics, which is one of the research tools we're bringing to light here, we believe that generations are not a box. Instead, there are powerful clues showing where to begin connecting with and influencing people of different ages. We specialize in the relationships between geography and generations. Millennials, for example, are the most consistent generation globally. However, we still see important differences between millennials raised in an urban environment versus those raised in a rural one, or those who move to a new country. Now, what makes generations consistent at a high level? Generations exhibit similar characteristics such as communication, shopping, and motivation preferences because they experienced similar trends at approximately the same time, same life stage, and through similar channels. Example: online, TV, mobile, gaming, etc. Generation shaping trends are most influential as people come of age, which means that members of a particular generation will develop and share similar values, beliefs, and expectations. It is important to remember that at an individual level, everyone is different, but looking at people through a generational lens offers useful predictability for those trying to reach, inform, or persuade a large cross-section of the population. This is very important depending upon what type of career you're in or what your life goals are. If you're in the corporate world, you have different structures within the corporation, from management, C-level people, to employees, various levels of employees within IT and or sales or engineering or research and development, or you could be in academia that you're going to be dealing with one particular age group, or you could be in the clinical field such as medicine or psychology, and that you may have different population sets. So this is very good information to look at it from the generation where you come from as you're interacting with other generations. So let's identify what they are. iGen, or Generation Z, or Centennials, they're born 1996 and later. We're not covering much on the iGen generation in this lesson. They're a little too young in the financial transaction world. Millennials, or Gen Y, they're born 1977 to 1995, so they're around 8 to 27 years old. Generation X, that's born 1965 to 76, so they're going to be your 28 to 43-year-olds. Baby boomers, or we're going to refer to them as boomers, born 1946 to 64, that's 44 to 62, and traditionalists, or the silent generation, born 1945 and before. You may notice that there's a little bit of overlap between the Gen X and the baby boomers. So you're going to have a little bit of a cusp inside there from a Gen X boomer. But you'll learn more about that as we move through here. So this is going to be broken down into various different virtues or attributes of each of the generations. As we move along, you're going to see this very clearly. So let's look at some of the famous icons of the time related to the different generations. Now, this is based upon research. These are just not random names that are coming through. These are the names that most appeared in the data gathering of the research. So it does, some of them sound a little unusual, but this is what the data had provided. So for traditionalists, the most popular views were famous people were Bob Dole and Elizabeth Taylor. I could think of some others, but that's what seemed to be most prevalent. In the boomer generation, it was Bill Clinton and Meryl Streep. Gen X, Barack Obama and Jennifer Lopez. Millennials, Ashton Kutcher and Serena Williams. And if we're really in the millennial and we're looking at who do we want to attribute the rapid expansion of this new cult phase of selfies, well, we can look exactly to the Kardashians for that. So we'll call it the Kardashian effect for the millennials. Other names and how many? So we're going to group this down into percentage of population. So other names that the traditionalists we can compartmentalize are veterans, also referred to silent or the moral authority, radio babies, the forgotten generation. Boomers are the me generation and another moral authority. Gen Xers are also called the Xers, the doers, the post-boomers, the 13th generation. That's also a subset of the Gen X generation, has been known as the yuppie generation as well. Millennials, called Gen Y, Generation Next, Echo Boomers, Chief Friendship Officers, 24/7s. But look at the percentage of the population in which these different groups equate in our country. Traditionalists are a diminishing one because they're beginning to die off. They're at 23%. Gen X is 19%. Boomers are at 30%. And actually, millennials are at 28%, but it was just recently published that the millennial number has eclipsed the boomer number. So the boomer number has dropped to 28, and the millennials just actually shifted up within the past few days up to 30. Now let's look at some of the influencers of the traditionalist generation. Some of the influencers or influences were World War II, the Korean War, Great Depression, the New Deal, the rise on corporations, the space age. They were raised by parents that just survived the Great Depression. So they had a very close attachment to what their parents were experiencing in the Great Depression. Experienced hard times while growing up, which were followed by times of prosperity. Let's move over to the influences of the boomers. They experienced civil rights, the unrest in our country of the Vietnam War, the rise of the sexual revolution, the Cold War in Russia, and space travel with Kennedy. The highest divorce rate and the second marriages. So there are increase of divorce and the increase of second marriages in history. The boomers are post-war babies who grew up to be radicals of the 70s and the yuppies of the 80s, and that is that cusp I referred to earlier. The American dream was promised to them as children, and they pursued it, and as a result, they are seen as being greedy, materialistic, and ambitious. I should take a pause here for a moment. In this research, you may take some umbrage with the way some of these words are presented, and this is not meant to be judgmental, nor to be stereotypical, or to group all people into some of these findings of this data. This is just a repurposing and recasting of the data as it was captured, and it is not meant to be judgmental, but it is an observation. So I personally do not attribute this particular generation as being greedy, materialistic, or ambitious, but those are some attributes that did come during that time period. Some influences of the Gen X generation: Watergate, the energy crisis, dual income families, as it used to be called DOINC, double income, no kids, and single parents, first generation of latchkey kids, Y2K, energy crisis, activism, and corporate sizing that was strong power of the corporation. I'm going to jump back to the latchkey for a second. The latchkey, many people may not know what that is, but that was when children were left at home and the TV was the babysitter. This is the time where children were really a generation of growing up in daycare. The next generation, it's not identified in this report, but the millennials, I refer to millennials not being the latchkey generation, but the millennials, instead of being consumed by a TV, they're consumed by touchscreens. So I call them the touchscreen kids. Gen X also experienced downsizing, the end of the Cold War, moms at work, and another increase in the divorce rate. Their perceptions are shaped by growing up having to take care of themselves early and watching their politicians lie and their parents get laid off. They came of age when USA was losing its status as the most powerful and prosperous nation in the world, and the first generation that will not do as well financially as their parents did. And we'll go to the millennials. Consumed with digital media, a child-focused world, school shootings, terrorist attacks, AIDS, 9/11 terrorist attacks. They typically grew up as children of divorce. They hope to be the next great generation to turn around all the wrong they see in the world today. They grew up more sheltered than any other generation as parents strive to protect them from the evils of the world. It's rather interesting that millennials don't necessarily see the depth of evil in the world, even though their parents tried to shelter them from it. They came of age in a period of economic expansion. They were kept busy as kids. Some parents were helicopter parents that were really on top of these kids. Others were not. First generation of children with schedules. Now let's look at some of the values that were birthed out of the traditionalist generation. Adherence to rules, conformers or conformity, contributing to the collective. Good is important. They were filled with dedication and sacrifice. They were willing to delay reward. They were disciplined. They didn't question authority. There was duty before pleasure. There was a sense of family focus. Giving back to them was important. Hard work was something that they expected. There was a sense of law and order. Loyalty was something that was measured. Patriotism abound. There was a sense of patience. There was respect for authority, responsibility. They were very good savers. They were stabilizing and stabilizers, and they had a trust in the government. Here's some of the values of the boomers. They were anti-war, anti-government. Anything is possible. They were founded on equal rights, equal opportunities, extremely loyal to their children, high sense of involvement, very optimistic. They sought personal gratification and personal growth. They questioned everything. They decided to spend now and not worry about what would happen in the future. Again, these are very general statements. Team-oriented, transformational, trust no one over 30. They desired youth, meaning they would spend money to maintain their youth, hard work, and they wanted to make a difference. Let's transition younger. Let's get into the Gen X values. They desire balance. They promote diversity, a burgeoning growth of entrepreneurial spirit. They're fun. A huge commitment to education. So there were more and more people getting advanced degrees. So they're highly educated, high level of job expectations, independent, informality on personal gratification, lack of organizational loyalty, pragmatic in their reasoning and thinking. They sought life balance. They were self-reliant, meaning that they had resiliency, that when they found something, a challenge, they had the tools to overcome. They were skeptical and cynical. They were suspicious of boomer values. They think globally, and they were having an increase of technology literacy. Now we're going to move into the millennial values. Achievement, avid consumers, have a strong sense of civic duty, strong confidence, promote diversity, extremely fun. Did I say that they're interested in fun? They enjoy fun. High statement of morals, however, that their actions may not relate to their view of their morals, but they had a high thinking of morals. Highly intolerant, hotly competitive, like a lot of personal attention, self-confident, a strong sense of sociability. The internet really fostered sociability. Members of a global community, statistically the most educated generation. Tremendous of people are going through the advanced schooling. Extremely technology savvy, extremely spiritual. This is a self-report, extremely spiritual. Immediate, now, very impulsive, urgency, optimism, realism, and street smarts. So we're going to get some more attributes back into the traditionalists. They're committed to the company. They're competent, confident, conservative. That's not meant as a political, but in a thinking of conservation, dedication, doing more with less, had a sense of ethical right and wrong, fiscally prudent, hardworking, historical viewpoint, filled with honor, a linear work style, loyal to organization, employers, duty, honor, and country, put in code if you're in the military, organized, patriotic, respectful of authority, rules of conduct, sacrifice, strong work ethic, task-oriented, thrifty, and they had abhor waste. That's being a byproduct of being raised by parents in the Depression, and trust, hierarchy, and authority. Sorry, move along. Let's go to, I want to go back to the honor for just a moment. And this did not come out in the data that I presented. But when we're talking about the traditionalists, particularly when it comes to honor, at that time in history, bankruptcy, personal and corporate bankruptcy, was a stigma. And people avoided bankruptcy. It was not a rescue. And people would do everything in their power to avoid bankruptcy because of the stigma that they personally held to that their honor was so high. And as we have migrated now, the experience of bankruptcy is a rescue that people look at as opposed to honoring the commitments that they made. Whether they made it in bad choices at the time or they failed behind poor times, whatever those reasons are, we'll call that in the domain of life experiences, bad circumstances, and or bad decisions. The honor inside the traditionalist generation is not seen in any other generations moving forward. The sense of personal honor in that domain financially does not exist. But that's a sidebar observation. Boomer attributes: ability to handle a crisis, ambitious, anti-establishmentism. They're anti the establishment, challenge authority. They're competent. They're competitive. Consensus-based leadership, consumerism, sense of ethics, good communication skills, written and oral, idealism, live to work, loyal to careers and employees, most educated as compared to the other three generations, but that has also shifted because it's moved over into the millennials. Multitaskers, rebellious against convention beginning with their conservative parents, traditionally found their worth in their work ethic, but now seek a healthy life-work balance, optimistic, political correctness started gaining a foothold, strong work ethic, and willingness to take on responsibility. Now we move into the Gen X. Adaptable, they could be angry but not know the source of their anger. Again, anti-establishment mentality. Big gap with the boomers. They can change. They crave independence. They're confident, competent, ethical, flexible, focus on results. They're free agents. Highest number of divorced parents. Independent. They're loyal to their management and or executives. Pampered by their parents. They're pragmatic. They're results driven. Results focused and results driven. Excuse me. Self-starters. Self-sufficient. Skeptical of institutions, strong sense of entitlement, unimpressed with authority, willing to take on responsibility, willing to put in the extra time to get the job done, work-life balance, work to live. I'm going to take a step back up here to unimpressed with authority for a moment, that in the Gen X generation, where society normally attributes a high level of authority based upon people's attire. So if you're wearing scrubs, you're wearing a black robe sitting behind a bench, you're wearing a certain outfit that is conveying a certain level of academic authority, this generation does not immediately say that the education warrants that authority. That's just something unusual in the Gen X generation. Look at all the attributes we have for the millennials, and there's a bunch, and it's very interesting because the purpose that I'm bringing this to attention is that many people are not familiar in detail with the millennial thinking and the attributes of them, and these are our future leaders and decision makers and executives that are being cultivated right now. So there's a lot of words in here that I'm encouraging us to all reconcile where we are. If we're a millennial, do we embody these? If we're one of the generations before or generations going to be coming after, this is important information to know because this is the future of our particular country in the US is going to be led with some of this kind of thinking. So it's important to know how we address this. And another side note, that wisdom is not something we naturally have. It is something that we gain over time through our life experiences. And we all, at points in our life, think we know everything. And that as we experience life, we learn what we may have learned may not have been enough. And that all of a sudden births new wisdom. So we're going to see an incredible amount of time of moving as the millennials start to experience and obtain their wisdom. Let's move through this list. Ambitious, but not entirely focused. Look to the workplace for direction and to help them achieve their goals. At ease in teams, attached to their gadgets and parents, best educated and confident, diversity focusing on multiculturalism, have not lived without computers. Think about that for a moment. They have not lived without having access to a touchscreen device. Eager to spend money, fiercely independent, focus is child, family, focus on change using technology, friendly scheduled, structured lives, globalist thinking, global way of thinking, greatly indulged by fun-loving parents, heroism, consider parents their heroes, high-speed stimulus junkies. This is where we talk in other lessons. I talk about the 6-second, 8-minute attention span, the rush of dopamine into the brain. The millennial generation has been dopamine junkies because everything is so instantaneous on the internet. So they're getting 6-second dopamine pushes into the brain. And it's as addictive as alcohol or drugs or smoking. It's doing the same thing in the brain. Incorporate individual responsibility into their jobs, Innovative thinkers out of the box. Sometimes they don't even think there is a box. Individualistic yet group-oriented. Invited his children to play a lead role in families' purchasing and travel decisions. The millennials had authority in the family unit. In a democracy, very major shift from the other generations. What the parents said stuck. This generation had a voice. Loyal to peers, sociable, makes worse workplace friends. Me first attitude in work life. Most dote upon it of any generation at work. Net-centric team players, open to new ideas, optimistic, parent advocacy, meaning their parents are advocates. Political savvy. Respect given for competency, not title decisions. Respectful of character development, self-absorbed, strong sense of entitlement. This is where the culture that grew up with participation trophies, so they feel that they are entitled to recognition. Whether they succeeded or failed, they need a reward. Technology savvy, digital generation. They think the mature generation is cool. Want to please others. Hope to make life contributions to the world. Unfortunately, they can't define that. They want to make an impact, but they don't know how to define that impact. Very patriotic, shaped by the events of 9/11, and they seek responsibility early on in their roles. Now let's look at the difference of the family experiences of each of the generations. The traditionalist generation was a traditional nuclear family, an intact husband, wife, nuclear children family. Boomers was a disintegrating, was the Cleaver family. Mom stayed at home as children were seen as special. Gen X was the latchkey kids, women widely expected to work outside the home, the first daycare generation, and dual income families. Millennials, merged families. This is blended families, coddled children, and the participation trophies. Now let's look at them as a context of the percentage of them in the workplace. We have the traditionalists with the smallest because they're the aging population at 5%. At 10%, that number is actually getting higher at this point. It's around 10% is millennials, 45% boomers, and 40% Gen X's. So the Gen X is going to get larger, the boomers are going to get smaller, and the traditionalists are going to disappear, and the millennials are going to get larger. Look at the work ethic of traditionalists. They're dedicated, they pay your dues, they work hard, they respect authority. Again, they do work hard. For them, numerical age equates to seniority. Chronologically delivers seniority. Not experience, not role of job, it's a flip of a calendar date. Company first. Boomer work ethic. They're driven, workaholic, 60-hour work weeks and more. Work long hours to establish self-worth and identity and fulfillment. Work ethic equals work ethic. And they prided themselves in quality of work. Gen X work ethic. Believed in more balance. Work smarter and with greater output, not work longer hours. Eliminate the task. They were self-reliant. They want structure and direction, and they were also skeptical. Millennial work ethic. Ambitious. What's next? They get easily distracted. What is the next thing I'm moving on to? When I do this, where do I go now? Multitasking. Tenacious. Entrepreneurial. Let's look at what the focus of attention in these generations were. Traditionalists were very task-focused. Boomers were relationships and results. Gen X were tasks and results. Millennials, their focus is on global and interconnectedness, the network. Let's look at senses of entitlement. Traditionalists, entitled to their seniority. Boomers felt entitled based upon their experience. Gen X felt a sense of entitlement based upon their merit. And millennials are based upon their contribution. Very distinct differences as we move through. Now let's take a look at technology. Traditionalists adapted technology. Boomers acquired it. Gen X has assimilated it. And millennials, it's an integral part of their life. There's another slide on technology, which is pretty interesting. Respect for authority. Traditionalists, authority is based on seniority and tenure. Boomers, originally skeptical of authority, but are becoming similar to traditionalists that time equals authority. Gen X, they're skeptical of authority figures and will test authority repeatedly. Millennials, they'll test authority, but often seek out authority figures when looking for guidance. Some wise attributes. Workplace view on time at work. Traditionalists, punch a clock, get the job done. Boomers, workaholics, they invented the 50-hour work week. Visibility is the key. Gen X, project, task, focused and oriented. Get paid to get a job done. Millennials, effective workers, but gone at 5 p.m. on dot. View work as a gig or something that fills the time between weekends. Workplace view on skill building. Traditionalists, training happens on the job. Newly developed skills benefit the company, not the individual. Boomers, skills are an ingredient to success, but they are not as important as work ethic and face time. Gen X, amassed skills will lead to the next job. The more they know, the better they'll be. Work ethic is important, but not as much as skills. Millennials, training is important, and new skills will ease stressful situations, motivated by learning. Want to see immediate results. Now let's take a look at the work view, work-life balance. Traditionalists work hard to maintain job security. Boomers, were hesitant of taking too much time off work for fear of losing their place on the corporate team, and as a result, there is an imbalance between work and family. Gen Xers, because of parents who were boomer workaholics, they focus on clearer balance between work and family. Do not worry about losing their place in the corporate team if they can take time off. Millennials not only balance with work and life, but balance with work, life, and community involvement and self-development. Flex time, job sharing, and sabbaticals will be requested more and more by this generation. Let's take a little deeper dive in the work ethic values of traditionalists. They like to adhere to rules, they're dedicated to the work ethic, duty before fun, expect others to honor their commitments and behave responsibly. Individualism is not valued, like to be respected, like to hear motivational messages, have a very linear work style. Socialization is important. Their word is their bond. Value due process and fair play. Value honor, compliance, sacrifice, dedication, hard work, good attitudes, attendance, practical knowledge, and loyalty. Let's move over to the boomers. Challenge authority, crusading causes, love to rally behind a cause. Dislike conformity and rules, heavy focus on work as an anchor in their lives, loyal to the team, question authority again, process oriented, relationship focused at work, strive to do their very best, value ambition, collaboration, equality, personal fulfillment and gratification, personal growth, teamwork, youthfulness, want respect from younger workers, want a flexible route into retirement, willing to take risks, and work efficiently. Gen X, they care less about advancement than about work-life balance. Expect to influence the teams and terms and conditions of the job. Work-family balance is important to them. Enjoy work, but are more concerned about work-life navigation. Have a work ethic that no longer mandates 10-hour days. Like a casual work environment, looking for meaningful work and innovation, move easily between jobs, and criticize for having no attachment to a particular job employer. This is the job hopping. Outcome-oriented, output-focused, prefer diversity, technology, informality, and fun, rely on their technological acuity and business savvy to stay marketable, want to get in, get the work done, and move on to the next thing. Millennial work ethics. Believe that because of technology, they can work flexibly anytime, any place, and that they should be evaluated on work product, not how, when, or where they got it done. Expect to influence the terms and conditions of the job. Have a work ethic that no longer mandates a 10-hour workday. High expectations of bosses and managers to assist and mentor them in attaining their professional goals. Want long-term relationships with employers, but on their own terms. Real revolution. Decreasing career ambition in favor of more family time, less travel, less personal pressure. Looking for meaningful work and innovation may be the first generation that readily accepts older leadership. Looking for careers in stability. Mentoring is important to them, obsessed with career development. Prefer diversity, technology, information, and fun. Recognize that people make the company successful. Tolerant. Thrive in collaborative work environments. Training is important to them. Understand importance of great mentors. Want to enhance their work skills by continuing their education. Now, let's examine the environment that each of these generations prefer to work in. Traditionalists they enjoy conservative, hierarchical, clear chain of command, top-down management, very regimented and structured. Boomers, flat organizational hierarchy, democratic, humane, equal opportunity, warm, friendly environment. Gen X, they want functional, positive, fun, efficient, fast-paced and flexible, informal, access to leadership, and access to information. Millennials, collaborative, achievement-oriented, highly creative, positive, diverse, fun, flexible, and want continuous feedback. I believe this is one of the most powerful slides in this. So this is something we just identified all different people inside of a corporate structure and look at all the different ways that they want to be led. Work is, to traditionalists, an obligation. It's a long-term career. Boomers, it's an exciting adventure, a career, work, and then retire. Gen X, a difficult challenge, a contract, but just a job. Millennials, it's a means to an end, fulfillment, flexible work arrangements. Traditionalists look for what kind of job? Traditionalists, recognition and respect for their experience, value placed on history and traditions, job security and stability, company with good reputation and ethics, clearly defined rules and policies, do what you know needs to be done. Boomers look for the ability to shine and be a star, make a contribution, company that represents a good cause, that will fit in with the company vision and mission, want a team approach, need clear and concise job expectations and it will get done, like to achieve more work through teams. Gen X, dynamic young leaders, cutting edge systems and technology, forward-thinking companies, flexibility in scheduling, input evaluated on merit, not age and seniority. If you can't see the reason for the task, they will question it. If you can't keep them engaged, then they will seek it in another position. What are millennials looking for? Want to be challenged. Don't want a boring job. Expect to work with positive people and company that can fulfill their dreams. Strong, ethical leaders and mentors. Treated with respect in spite of their age. Want a social network. They expect to learn new knowledge and skills. They see repeating tasks as a poor use of their energy and time and an example of not being taken seriously. Friendly environments responds poorly to inflexible, hierarchical organizations. Respond best to more networked, less hierarchy organizations. Flexible schedules, want to be evaluated on output, not input on the work product itself. They expect to be well paid. They want to make a difference. And because of being a product of the drop down and click menu, they may need to be given a list of options. Traditionalists work assets. Bring value to the workplace with their experience and knowledge. They're consistent, disciplined, dependable, detail-oriented, hardworking, loyal, stable, thorough. Use their institutional experience and intuitive wisdom to face changes in the workplace. Boomer worker assets. Anxious to please. Challenges the status quo. Can creatively break down the big picture into assignments. Good at seeing the big picture. Good team players. Mission-oriented, politically savvy, gifted in political correctness. service-oriented, and will go the extra mile and works hard. Gen X, adapt well to change, consumer mentality, direct communicators, don't mind direction but resist intrusive supervision. Eager to learn, very determined, good task managers, good short-term problem skills, highly educated. I've got to pause for a second. Good task managers. If we take a pause and look at one thing that is consistent with every one of these generations, is that every one of these generations went through the United States educational system. A small percentage of them were homeschooled, even smaller percentage were unschooled. The majority of the people went through mainstream academia from elementary to secondary education. And some even went after that same degrees. But one thing that has not changed through all of the generations is the industrial model of education. And when we say good task managers, all of them should be head task managers because that's what they were taught through institutional education. Memorization, repetition, and move through chronologically. They all moved through at the same time. Not that people all emotionally and psychologically developed at the same time, but they were all moved through as herds, and they were all focused on tasks. So I just wanted to draw that there's a synergy through all of them on that point. Continuing, multitaskers, not intimidated by authority, thrive on flexibility, technologically savvy, will do a good job if given the right tools, value information, and want feedback. Millennial work assets. Consumer mentality, collaboration, goal-oriented, highly educated, multitask fast, optimistic, positive attitude, technologically savvy, and tenacious. Traditionalist work liabilities. They don't adapt well to change, don't deal with ambiguity. They don't deal with the hierarchical structure. Typically take a top-down approach modeled by the military chain of command, avoid conflict, and there are absolutes, moral and ethical, right or wrong. Boomer work liabilities. Expect everyone to be workaholics, dislike conflict, don't like change, challenge authority of traditionalists, judgmental if disagree, not good with finances, pure loyalty, process before results, self-centered. Generation X works liabilities. Built portable resume. Cynical and skeptical, dislike authority, dislike rigid work requirements, impatient, lack people skills, no long-term outlook, respect competence, mistrust institutions, rejects rules, and don't understand the optimism of boomers and Generation Y. And if you go back into what in the very beginning we talked about, you can see the lens as to why some of these are considered liabilities based upon their historical look at time. Millennial work liabilities. Distaste for menial work. They are brain smart, inexperienced, need supervision, need structure, lack discipline, high expectations, lack of skills for dealing with difficult people, impatient, respond poorly to those who act in an authoritarian manner, and or who expect to be respected due to higher rank alone. Another liability that I would put in here is that their writing and verbal skills are not keen for corporate professionalism. Profanity to them is natural part of the way they express themselves, and when they put a pen to a paper, which they rarely do, it's more a keyboard, they're part of the texting generation. So their letters and their communication in emails, their correspondence is using text language. They were writing college papers, inserting text language in college papers. So this is another limitation, a liability, that they're not groomed for corporate style communication. Keys to working with traditionalists. Think that work is not supposed to be fun. They follow rules well but want to know procedures, tend to be frustrated by what they see as a lack of discipline, respect, logic, and structure, especially if the workplace is more relaxed or spontaneous. Consider their feelings, tend to be conservative in workplace, and like the personal touch. Keys to working with boomers. They want to hear that their ideas matter. They were valued at their youth, teens, and young adults and expect to be valued in the workplace. Their careers define them. Their work is important to them. Silly routines are frustrating. They expect their work and themselves to matter. Before they do anything, they need to know why it matters, how it fits into the big picture, and what impacts it will have and upon whom. They do well in teams, are motivated by their responsibilities to others, respond well to attention and recognition, don't take criticism well, less likely to offer necessary recognition, and need flexibility, attention, and freedom. Before I continue on to the next one, many organizations utilize the Myers-Briggs personality type indicator, the MBTI, and have people go through these questions. Some organizations do a 360 type of MBTI and have their peers take the test on behalf of their coworkers. And these tests are very powerful when we're interacting with other individuals, and the MBTI is a great tool for this. These kind of this information correlates very nicely with organizations that adhere and have a structure that uses the MBTI for their internal employee HR communication. Sorry for that digression. Keys to working with Gen X. What independence in the workplace and informality. Give them time to pursue other interests, allow them to have fun at work, and give them the latest technology. Keys to working with millennials. Like a team-oriented workplace, want to work with bright and creative people. Take time to learn about their personal goals. They expect to be treated respectfully. Raised to feel valued and very positive about themselves. They see a sign of disrespect. Any requirement to do things just because this is the way it is has always been done, or to pay one's dues. Want to work with friends. Provide engaging experiences that develop transferable skills. Provide rationale for the work you've asked them to do and the value it adds. Provide variety. Grow teams and networks with great care. Develop the tools and processes to support the faster response and more innovative solutions. Provide a work environment that rewards extra effort and excellence. Pay close attention to helping them navigate work and family issues. Offer structured, supportive work environment, personalized work, and also involve in teams. Interactive work environment. Let's talk about leadership styles. Leadership styles of the different generations. Traditionalists, very hierarchical, director, commander-in-chief, and commander-in-control. Boomers, consensus, consensual, collegial. Gen X, competence. Everyone is the same. Challenge others and ask why. Millennials, achievers, to be determined. This group has not spent much time in the workplace, so this character is not yet flushed itself out. View of authority. Traditionalists are respectful. Boomers are impressed. Gen X is unimpressed. Millennials, I would say, are chillaxed more than relaxed. The heroes. Traditionalists, it's the unit, esprit de corps. Boomer, Kennedys, Martin Luther King. Gen X, what's a hero? Maybe the boss? Millennials, my grandparents, the boss if things are right, but they view themselves as the heroes. Interactive style. Traditionalists are very individual. Boomers, team players, and they love to have meetings. Gen X, more entrepreneurial. Millennials, participative. Here we go. Told you technology was coming in. It's a little funny. Technology. To the traditionalists, the Hoover Dam was technology. No doubt, Hoover Dam was an engineering feat. But boomers, they look at the microwave. They say that's technology. Gen X, what you can hold in your hand, your cell, your PDA, your tablet. Now millennials, it's more ethereal, more intangible. What can be done outside of here, out in the cloud. Communications media. Traditionalists, rotary phones, one-on-one, writing a memo. Imagine that, a pen on a piece of paper. Boomers, touch-tone phones, call me anytime. Gen X, cell phones, call me only at work. Millennials, Internet, picture phones, email, text, Snap, Insta, constant communication, multiple ways to communicate, and ability to communicate at any time. Communication styles of traditionalists. They're discreet, present your story in a formal, logical manner, show respect for their age, experience, address as Mr., Sir, Mrs., use good grammar and manners, no profanity. That does change inside. Profanity is a cultural thing as well. Deliver your message based upon the history, traditions of the company and how they can fit. Use formal language, don't waste their time. Use inclusive language, we, us, not I, me. Focus words, not body language. Slow to warm up. The memo. They like handwritten notes, less email, more personal interaction. Communication style of boomers. Diplomatic, in person, speak often in a very direct style, use body language to communicate. Present options, ability to be flexible, use e-com, face-to-face. Answer questions thoroughly and expect to be pressed for details. Avoid manipulative, controlling language. Like the personal touch from managers. Get consensus, included them, or they may get offended. Establish a friendly rapport. Okay to use first names. Learn what is important to them. Emphasize the company's vision and mission and how they can fit in it. Communication style of the Gen X. Blunt, direct, immediate. Use straight talk. Don't dodge the issue. Present facts. Use email as the number one communications tool. That is transitioning. Number one is email, but there's more communication that's happening through text. Learn their language and speak it. Use informal communication style. Talk in short sound bites. Share info immediately, often, and I should say repeatedly. Has the potential to bridge the generation gap with the youngest and oldest workers. Don't micromanage. Use direct, straightforward approach. Avoid buzzwords and company jargon. Tie your message to results. Emphasize what's in it for me in terms of training and skills to build their resume. Communication style of the millennials. Polite, and to them, yes, profanity can be polite. Use positive, respectful, motivational, electronic communication styles, cell phones, email, IM, text. These are fun. Their number one tool for communication is text. Communication in person, if the message is very important. Not only text, but Snapchat. Use email and voicemail as number one tools. Text. Don't talk down, they will resent it. Show respect through language and they will respect you. Use action verbs. Use language to portray visual pictures. Be humorous. Show you're human. Be careful about the words you use and the way you say it. They're not good at personal communication because there are technical ways of communicating. Be positive. Determine your goals and aspirations and tie your message to them. Prefer to learn in networks, teams, using multimedia while being entertained and excited. Remember, I said they want that 6-second rush. So things that are, this presentation is killing millennials. They have tuned out. They're probably asleep. They're out of their mind at how boring this is. Great content, but they're bored out of their minds because I'm not giving them dopamine rushes as we go through this. Feedback and rewards, traditionalists. No news is good news. Satisfaction is a job well done. Feedback on performance as they listen, want subtle private recognition on an individual level without fanfare. Feedback and reward for boomers. Feel rewarded by money, will often display all rewards, certificates, and letters of appreciation for public view. You're going to see it on the ego wall right behind them. Like praise, title recognition. Give something to put on the wall. Something more interested in soft benefits than younger generations. Enjoy public recognition. Appreciate awards for their hard work and the long hours that they work. Again, did I mention that they like to be recognized and have something put on the wall behind them? Feedback and rewards for Gen X. Not enamored by public recognition. Want to be rewarded with time off. Freedom is the best reward. Prefer regular feedback on their work, but is less dependent on being told that they're good people. somewhat more interested in benefits than younger generations, need constructive feedback to be more effective, are self-sufficient, give them structure, some coaching, but implement the hands-off type of supervisory role. Feedback and rewards for millennials. List to be given feedback often. They like to be given feedback often, and they will often ask for it. Meaningful work. Be clear about goals and expectations. Communicate frequently, repeatedly. Provide supervision and structure, oversight. Want recognition for their heroes, bosses, and grandparents. Managers who balance these frames of reference in rewarding workers create a more valuable experience for both the employee and the worker. Messages which motivate. For traditionalists, your experience is respected. Boomers, you are valued, you are needed. Gen X, do it your way, forget the rules. Millennials, you will work with other bright, creative people. They're motivated by traditionalists being respected, boomers being valued, needed money. Gen X, freedom and removal of the rules of time off. Millennials, working with other bright people and time off. All this shift, you see this, there's a constant shift, a ratcheting of a cog turning. Money is, to traditionalists, their livelihood. To boomers, it's a status symbol. To Gen X's, money's a means to an end. And millennials, it's today's payoff, not tomorrow's, just today's. Work and family life balance. Traditionalists, ne'er the two shall meet. Keep them separate. At this point in their lives, they're interested in flexible hours and are looking to create balance in their lives after working most of it. Boomers, no balance. They just live to work. At this point in their lives, they are interested in flexible hours and looking to create balance in their lives. They have pushed hard, all work and no play, and they're beginning to wonder if it was all worth it. Gen X, work to live. Balance is important. They will sacrifice balance, but only occasionally. They work to live, not live to work. Millennials, work to live. Balance is important. They will sacrifice balance, but only occasionally. They value their lifestyle over upward mobility. If presented with a work promotion that will throw their life out of balance, they will choose their lifestyle. Mentoring with traditionalists. Investment in long-term commitment, support long-term commitment, show support for stability, security, and community, actions with focus on standards and norms, allow the employee to set the rules of engagement, ask what has worked for them in the past, and fit your approach to that experience. Let them define the outcome that you both want. Use testimonials from the nation's institutions, the blue chips, respect their experience. Emphasize that you've seen a particular approach work in the past. Don't highlight uniqueness or need for radical change. They like stability. Boomer mentoring. Stellar career is important as they question where I've been and where I am going. Appreciate they pay their dues under hierarchical rules. Teach them balance, work, family, financial, etc. Need to know they're valued. Show them how you can help them use their time wisely. Pre-assess their comfort level with technology before new projects. Demonstrate the importance of a strong team and their role. Emphasize that their decision is a good one and a victory for them. Follow up, check in, and ask how the individual is doing on a regular basis, but do not micromanage. Gen X mentoring. There's more here because they would benefit from some mentoring. Still young. Offer a casual work environment and lighten up. Get them involved, encourage creativity, allow flexibility, be more hands-off. Encourage a learning environment, listen and learn. While you're talking, your ears don't work. They work with you, not for you. Offer variety and stimulation. May need help in taking responsibility for full process completion and appreciating how their input affects the whole. Need their managers to appreciate that they have a life and can be more efficient one task at a time, that they will leave in a second if a better deal comes along. I'm going to pause for a second. If you are in a leadership role, we are all in a leadership role at some point or another. Some of these things that you may be hearing here sound like that you may be saying something just for the sake of saying it. And I submit to you that if your ego is in the way that prevents you from saying what you need to do to encourage and empower another employee, you may want to look at your ego, because If we want to take another human being and have them be a productive citizen and employee in our job, are we the obstacle? Because what are we really giving up to meet that person where they are to help cultivate them and grow them? So this is kind of like a self-gut check. If some of these things are causing you, why do I always need to encourage? Go get your encouragement at home. Your mommy and daddy can encourage you. I'm just making these things up. But if that's an emotion that's coming inside of you, this may not be about them. And reflect upon yourself. Because if the goal is for the health of the company or the health of the client or the health of the team, that what are you really losing by giving somebody encouragement? So I continue. Provide learning and development opportunities. Provide situations to try new things. Ask for their input in selecting an option. Be prepared to answer why often. Present yourself as an information provider, not a boss. Use their peers as testimonials. Appear to enjoy your work. Follow up and meet your commitments. They are eager to improve and expect you to follow through with information. Millennial mentoring. Encouragement to explore new avenues through breaking the rules. Raise the bar on itself as they have high expectations, goals, and steps and actions. Establish mentoring programs. Honor their optimism and welcome and nurture them. Be flexible, challenge them, respect them. Offer customization, a plan specific to them. They grew up with IEPs. They had special plans. Offer peer-level examples. Spend time providing information and guidance. Allow options, including work from home and flex time, and be impressed with their decisions. I'm not saying if they fail, don't be impressed with their failure, but be impressed with the decisions that may have gone through even though they may not have succeeded. Traditionalist career development. Not really an option for traditionalists. Just taught to keep their nose to the grindstone. The ultimate goal was simply to move up within the organization, but realized happened only to a few. Boomer career development. Focus on developing their careers through opportunities within one organization, or at least with one industry. Move up based on seniority, not always based on skill or expertise. Gen X, take a proactive approach to career development through more degrees and experiences both within the organization and without. This is often seen as being disloyal to the company, but Gen Xers see it as being loyal to themselves. The millennials, they'll enter the workforce with more experiences than any generation before them. They will continue to seek this through requests for more experience and opportunities. If they don't get it at their work, well, they're going to seek it somewhere else. Training and development, traditionalists, training should contribute to the organization's goals. Boomers, training is a contribution to the organization's goals, but it is also a path to promotion and additional compensation. Training enhances their versatility in the market for Gen Xers and investment in their future, not necessarily loyal to the company who trained them. They don't see a company's investment as training as a liability. They see it, this is the company's investment into them personally. Willing and eager to make risks, don't mind making mistakes. They consider this just a learning opportunity. Retirement. Traditionalists, they put in 30 years, retire and live off pension and savings. Boomers. If I retire, who am I? I haven't saved any money, so I need to work, at least part-time. I've been downsized, so I need to work, at least part-time. Gen X. I may retire early. I save my money. I may want different experiences, and I may want to change careers. I may want to take a sabbatical to develop myself. Millennials. Jury is still out. Will probably be similar to the Gen Xers. Now this is interesting relative to the fundraising tips for traditionalists. Offer them conservative planned giving and financial management tools. Have one-on-one meetings and ask their advice. No email fundraising here. The more people, the better. The more personal, the better. Older generations, including boomers, may be more interested in planned giving and financial management tools. They will respond better to traditional solicitation strategies like personal letters and face-to-face meetings. Boomers, put them out front and in the spotlight. Get them involved. Allow them to find self-fulfillment through work with your organization. Offer them more aggressive planned giving and financial management tools. Appeal to their idealism. Could your agency be where they spend their third age? Fundraising tips for Gen X. Use humor in appeals. Allow them to work independently for your agency and on their own terms, and can't stand infinite committee meetings. Social entrepreneurs, microloans. Create use of new technologies. Understand their primary focus is their family. Lone ranger philanthropy and volunteerism. Younger generations have shorter attention spans. The trick is to engage them quickly, often with humor. Let them see that they can make a difference and connect things that they care about, like their families and environment. Messages can be delivered by technology, but need to be short and to the point. Now we go to Gen Xers. Use them for focus groups. Ask their opinions. Put them in charge of using technology for appeals. No long appeal letters. Utilize their networks. Have them plan events that interest them. Act fast on their interest, or you will lose them. Link your cause to sustainability. If mid-century modern is cool again. So this concludes the presentation, and I hope you were able to gather some good nuggets on the different attributes of these different generations and how they all merge inside of an organization and or in a family or in any group. It's hard to walk through this world without walking past the shoulders of people of different ages that come from different life experiences. And when they're put into the work environment or in the family environment, you've got all these things to contend with. So use this as it sees fit within your organization, within your profession, within your family. This helps grandchildren understand grandparents, parents understand their parents and their children, and these are changing. There's subtle tweaks of these happening as we continue to move. And this digital world that we're in now, one portion of the generation is way detached from it. On the other side of the spectrum, this is their lifeblood. Their whole life is connected through some digital umbilical cord. And if you have somebody that doesn't know about that digital umbilical cord trying to talk to someone who is, the two are not going to meet. And there needs to be a bridge. The bridge is your ability to understand how this is all shifted and this information that I provide for you. So thank you for your time. Again, my name is Ryan Miller. I'm the founder of Parent Dome. I talk about numerous topics. This is just I provide the research. I'm going to provide the links below for the research data that I have provided. And I dive in to give the data when I talk about these topics in live meetings, in presentations, interviews. I want to help people get to the data. This is the data repurposed. If you want to dive behind, peel the onion layers even back further and get into the actual research statistics and rip about how they did their surveys, that is available as well. So thank you very much for your time, and hopefully we'll be able to create more content for you in the future. Have a great day.